into the date. We're back, my boy. Damn.
Thank you, man. I'd love to be a regular guest.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. You've been up to a bit online now, huh? With ISO. First of all, tell me, man, what's been going on during the ISO? And
You know,
what have you been up to, man?
look. Sincerely, this has been. It was going to be one of the worst times for me, because I run retreats, I got seminars going
Actually,
on.
before you go, for those who don't know, tell them a bit about what you do.
Basically, everyone, I'm a men's personal coach. I help guys primarily with motivation and fulfillment in their career and relationships. So what that looks like is I run seminars and retreats. Yeah.
And so you were saying you had a seminar or retreat, something recently?
Well, my whole business is technically seminars and retreats. And with ISO, you can't do them, right? Yeah. And so honestly, man, like we haven't caught up in a while, but the first 3 months of this year were very difficult for me, just business-wise. If it's your first year of business, and I have a feeling, maybe people watching, they're also interested in side businesses and things like that. Your first year of business is obviously very difficult, where you have to learn a lot of lessons. In the beginning, you're just doing what you think you want to do, but you've got to learn. Like, you've got to learn that there's contracts. You've got to learn that there's like processes to follow. If you don't follow them, you get burnt. So I definitely got burnt. And first 3 months were very difficult. And then Corona happened, and I was like, whoa, this is going to be really bad, because now I can't even make money. But thanks to the banks pausing home loans, and all those different pieces of help, I've got some properties, so I get money from the properties without, thanks to the banks pausing. So it secured my financial position. And I'm like, okay, well, I've got money now, but I can't run my stuff. And it just forced me to stop. And that was probably one of the most wonderful things, because when I paused, I thought about what I think the collective energy is of the globe right now. And the universe, and I trust you would know this, the universe has two energies, I feel. One is the expansion, like the Big Bang, and then contraction, which is like the Big Rip. And what I feel is happening right now is a contractive period. We have daytime and nighttime, and we have summer and winter. And I feel like this is kind of like a winter period where everything has to go inward. And I feel like where we experience pain is when we resist what is happening naturally in the universe. So if we resist the summer, we feel bad. But if we resist the inward movement, we also feel bad. So I was like, okay, I've got to accept that everything is going inward and everything needs to chill out right now. So that's what I did, and I use it to like meditate more, to have more time to myself, just to like, I wake up 4:50 every morning, like effectively 4 or 5 o'clock every morning.
5 o'clock club.
5 a.m. club, right? And I'm part of the 5 a.m. club. Have you read the book?
No, I haven't read it, but I know.
Yeah. So part of that is that he says to take some time out to reflect or meditate, or he gives you a list of things you can do. One is to do exercise, another one is to meditate, another one is to look at your goals and stuff. So my last leg of that, my morning routine, is to just go out on my balcony with a coffee and a notebook, and I just chill for like 20 minutes, and I just enjoy my coffee. And for anyone who's busy, usually we don't even just take a second to just enjoy something. And by doing stuff like that, it's helped me like really look at my business and come up with way better products, like really refine what I'm already doing, come up with like new ideas for how I can do things. I'll learn a lot more. So like, I've been trading crypto, I've been trading stock options, like various financial things that normally you need a lot of time to learn all this stuff. So I'm making like, doing well there. And then I've been running, building my business. So to answer your question, ISO has inadvertently been probably one of the most wonderful times, sincerely, that I've had.
And do you find, like, have you spoken to other people, and do you find that like other people have experienced it in the same way, or?
That's a nice question. Look, I've honestly treated this period selfishly, so I haven't caught up with many people. I've been using this thing as an excuse to not catch up, because you know how sometimes you can get draining, right? But of my clients and the guys I work with, they are doing all right, I would say, because initially a lot of people were struggling with working from home and feeling isolated. But one of the things that we work with, like in our programs and whatever, is you got to understand, like, just because it's called ISO, you don't actually have to it's social distancing. You don't, it's.
Yeah, but these days with technology, like the technology we have and whatnot, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't really have to take the word to its true meaning.
That's exactly right, man. And like, dude, the New South Wales Police Commissioner literally said on the news, on 7 News, he goes, I make sure my wife and my kids go out of the house every single day. He goes, if you stay in the house, you're going to get sick. So bro, we've been going to the beach. We've been having a great time. And in terms of the other people, that's exactly what I encourage them to do. I'm like, dude, go for a walk to the cafe and talk to people and get a coffee and come back. Like, just
Sometimes the simple things, eh? It was like the other day, we were just, like, obviously Nusha was watching the sunset, and she realizes that during this time, especially when you're working, you're usually traveling back from work or whatnot, and you don't really take the time to see the sunset. And this is something that she's been really just appreciating and watching now. Just like literally just taking the time to just really just take it all in. So it's crazy times, man. It's crazy times for many reasons. Obviously the flip side to it is people losing their jobs, and obviously I know personal mates that have businesses that obviously would be struggling during this period, and it'll be tough on them. So, man, touching into like just must have been maybe a couple of months now, but you've been heavy on the relationship front, and
absolutely.
So I've been wanting to dig into that more than anything.
Please.
And just kind of like, because I feel like compared to like previously, especially a lot of the stuff that you put online previously, this was a massive shift, and obviously this sort of
relationship material.
Relationship material, and obviously you being in a relationship probably would have also sparked it even further, right? So what kind of really got you into going into that space, or was it something that you were always interested in?
Thanks for asking. I look, Anna knows this. I don't know if any guy grows up to want to be a relationship coach. I really don't. I don't know how many kids. Go on.
Because I was gonna say, like, it's a touchy subject, man, like amongst people, and it's a truth, like it's everyone's got their own perception, right? Like someone telling you like how a relationship should be, or and just how to go about it. It's such a personal. It taps into so many elements, right? It taps into your ego, taps into your kind of like your sense of space of what you think a relationship should be. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I just feel like it's such a sensitive subject. It's easy for someone to get like some sort of backlash, like, you know what I mean, and get some, and have people like
and we have
react to it, you know what I mean? So I always found it interesting, because it's people, obviously you have mates, I have mates, the whole world has mates, right? And people that have gone through relationships, including ourselves. So it's such a hard thing to grasp, the whole concept of relationships and what's really a way to go about a fruitful relationship, you know what I mean? Where you kind of, you guys are down the middle, and you have a partner that understands you, and right, with things like with religion, with so many concepts, they also define relationships. They also define how relationships are, going about, right? Whether you're married or whatever it is. So, man, end of the day, I'm always open to someone, always, speaking from their perspective anyway. So what really got you like into that? And I want to just kind of dive into also like the reactions and stuff, because I'm sure there's some good ones.
There's been some good ones, man.
I knew already. I knew already. So I was like,
they're in the comments.
on, go on.
In terms of what got me into it was that people would ask. That's what it is.
Oh, really?
But yeah, I did not want to do it, to be honest.
Yeah. And was this from like all the retreats and whatnot, or just
Both.
people in? Okay.
Both.
People
Both.
just in
Because
general.
people know, anyone who follows me is on my Facebook or Instagram, know that I'm advising guys. I'm giving this life advice stuff, right? For want of a better way to put it, right? And I'm talking about career and motivation and purpose and all this stuff. But then naturally you become the guy that people ask, well, hey, do you know about this area? Or dude, I'm struggling because of my relationship. Or here's the biggest one. A lot of guys, and I don't know if I'm going to lose people here, but a lot of guys will point the finger at the wife or at their children or at their family as the reason they can't do something. You know, and because your relationship is the number one most personal thing to you, then it's the one that is gonna, you know, the amount of guys who come to my retreats and they want to workshop their business, but the more I push them a little bit to like what's personally going on, the number one biggest area it's showing up is obviously their relationships. You know, and a lot of guys, this is the direct quote, have said, yeah, I was really using the business to like cover the fact that like I didn't want to even talk about my relationship, but that's really what I need help on, because no one wants to talk about it. And but that's what they do when they don't want to talk about it. They don't because of the ego, right? But everyone wants to have a wonderful relationship. Like no one doesn't want to have a great relationship, you know. And what I have found is with a relationship, there's various stages, right? So you obviously got the honeymoon phase, and then you've got in teams they call it forming, storming, norming, performing. You know, so you come together, then you have some drama, you know, because it's just like you got to get used to each other now, you know, and then you normalize into a way of being, and then hopefully you can perform, you know. And in the same thing in relationships, you come together and it's lovely and it's honeymoon phase, and your reticular activating system, which is the selective focus in your mind, is looking at all the great things that they're doing, you know. But then a point comes where the honeymoon phase ends and you're in storming, which is like, yo, you never take out the garbage, you know, or like, yo, this, you know, blah, blah, blah. And now that you can potentially have an RAS flip, where your reticular activating system, instead of seeing all the good things they do, it sees all the bad things they do. And now this person that you had this mad honeymoon phase with, now you're beefing with them all the time. And it is at that point where one of two things can happen. Either they pretend that everything is good and they just think that this is normal and they don't look for extra help. And if that's the case, they kind of stay in that way forever. Or they look for some guidance and they read a book or they talk to someone like me or whatever, and the journey goes on. So in terms of how I got into it, it was sincerely because people could sense that there was something a little bit more than the way that they've been going. Because the sincere truth is, it's important to question society's societal norms.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, it's important.
Course,
And just if you feel like this thing could be a little bit different, maybe you should like go out there and investigate that. And thankfully, people are. They've come to me for it, and I think the other reason they've come to me is because anyone who sees me and Anna, we seem to have that kind of magnetic chemistry, and I think that's partially because our personalities are quite extroverted, but also because we've both individually done so much personal development that like we've like scraped like in terms of personal development that we've done for ourselves. So when we come together, you see a lot of the payoff of all the personal development that we've done, because we're like very happy. There's no really better way. You're very happy, and as a profession, you're a guide. So
and so obviously people asking you the question and or multiple questions obviously sparked your interest, right? So how did you, obviously with the information and the advice and I guess, you know, some of the things that you do provide to them, where does that come from? Is that just research and you know, just, I guess, research being the main one, is it mainly research work that you do? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there's of course experience.
Yeah.
Like I met Anna at 29. Like I'm 31 now. But for like everyone, some people just like really not been in many relationships.
Yeah.
But for me, I was in plenty all through my 20s. So I learned kind of on the front lines of a lot of the hard things that you can go through in a relationship.
And do you add principles that you have learned throughout life, or the things that you've learned from your personal development
10,000%
into and using it as a perspective as to the relationships you were in, and then the relationship obviously with Anna as well, right?
It's the biggest thing, the single biggest thing that has helped. It's just by like, my job is personal development now. Before it was just my passion, whatever. Like I was just, because of the things I went through, I really got into personal development around 25, where I left my job and I needed something to guide me, and the personal development body of work really guided me. So I never stopped, and really, it's the synthesis of all these different things that you've read and peeped and videos and everything, and guides and people you're speaking to, and people who you literally have like a type of relationship that everyone wants. You speak to people, you get the wisdom, and if your entire job is that, you naturally create a synthesis of ideas, which is like, dude, this is like no matter what, like you need to have these things in it. Like you need to have trust, integrity, like you just want to be honest with each other. You need to align on the vision, stuff like that.
And what was it like when you did start, obviously, releasing like video content online, about this topic? What was kind of like, what were some of the things that comments, some of the comments you received, and I guess people's perspective and in what you guys were saying, speaking about?
Sincerely, so there've been good and bad comments, which is always a good sign.
Yeah, of course, and there has to be, right? There's no way someone's not going to get the shit. So or have their say anyway. Yeah. Exactly.
Like there was something that was said on a particular video that we did, which was an opinion about it's I'm going to say the word wrong, but it's like polygamy, I believe it is. Like it's like when you're dating multiple partners. I think it's polygamy. And look, one of us had the opinion, look, you just got to do you. There's no right way to go about it. But an opinion was shared, which was like, well, here's all these dangers of polygamy, right? And that triggered a lot of people getting upset about it, And I think what that goes to show you is, I think the ultimate truth is, like, everyone's got their own journey, everyone's got their own free will to do whatever they want. The overwhelming majority of feedback I get from this stuff is positive, thankfully. It's like really appreciated, and so people want to keep themselves anonymous,
Of course.
So they write to me with questions and stuff, and then me and Anna answer them live together, and they find it so useful, sincerely, thankfully.
And
I'm sure there's haters though.
Yeah,
the thing is, most of the time, you're doing good if you're magnetic, and magnetic means that you're repelling some people and attracting some people.
Well, essentially, even with the haters, they're still giving an opinion, so you've triggered someone to be able to express their own opinion or express their own thoughts, which is something. You've taken them out of their shell to come and respond to something they did.
It's a big deal, man.
You know what I mean? It's actually, much bigger deal than it looks sometimes.
As your haters should grow, because we live in a binary world. Like by us calling that a watch, we're also saying what it's not. There's always, like, it's duality. In our, it's the realm of duality where we live, right? The unmanifested world is oneness, but here it's duality, it's male and female, it's whatever, right? So the truth is, if you're going to get a lot of strong good, you will get a lot of strong bad. That's how the universe works. So
And how's things with Raw? And obviously it's been a bit difficult, right? Not being able to. I think you went online, right?
Yeah. Started to do online Raws. Which is, like, for people who don't know, That's my men's guided meditation class where I literally get them to roar. But the thing is, there's guys who run their retreats online. The people will charge $5,000 to run an online retreat right now,
Yeah.
and people will pay it. But as I was saying, like, I was saying in the morning, read my notebook and have a coffee. So it helps me get in touch with like what I feel is like my intuition, and most of all, it's like you got to tap into what you feel is the right thing to do. And anyone who's in business, it's about the other person. It's not about you. It's about like what the other person needs and giving them what they need. So I sincerely thought about both Raw and my retreats. And I'm like, and I had guys, man, who were willing to pay thousands of dollars. They're just on trusting me, and they're like, Dim, I want to do it in person, but if you say that it's going to be just as good online, then I trust you. Here's my money, right?
Yeah.
And I said to all of those guys, we're talking like tens of thousands of dollars if you look at the total amount, right? I said to all those guys, look, let's hit pause for a second, and let's just all think about this over the weekend, right? And I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? The most important thing is them getting the best service possible, and also the trust and the integrity that we have. That is worth way more than any money.
Yeah.
So at the end of that weekend, I got back to him and I'm like, boys, here's what we're going to do. Keep the money. We're going to pause. In a month's time, we're going to revisit the situation with Corona and the lockdowns. And if it's looking like it's going to lighten up, then we'll book in a date then, and then we'll get this thing started in person. But we're not going to, like, if it looks like we're going to have lockdown forever, then of course we're going to have to do it online.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But for that reason, I actually paused all these things. I didn't feel like the impact was being made online. To be honest, I felt like it needed to be done in person. Yeah.
But you know, it's something like the whole process of Raw. It's like obviously, I've previously spoken about Qigong and whatnot. It's the same thing. I wouldn't be able to do it online because it's just not the same.
And you just gotta keep it real, man.
It's also having the other people around you. It's just that collective energy as well, right?
Yeah.
That collective energy makes a massive difference as well. So,
bro, Tony Robbins tried to do a hologram of him, right? God bless. Like he tried to do a hologram of him for he does things with 7,000 people.
That's some next level shit, man.
Yeah, right. And he did a hologram, and the people said that he wasn't the same.
Oh, really?
Right? It wasn't the same, right? So it goes to show you got to keep it real. It's very cute. It's real nice. You're trying to innovate, but you got to just keep it real. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, fine. I'm going to cop a X amount of money loss right now. It doesn't matter. You kept it real. You're going to win in the long term. So that's how I play it.
Something that I wanted to bring up, actually, didn't think about it yesterday. I was thinking about what to ask you, obviously, but not long ago you dropped a photo of you and Anna, and you also obviously had a photo of your days in the army. Yeah. Right, and you had a really kind of
post,
deep post about just what you were going through and just the comparison between the two images, right? And me personally knowing you, I found it. I was kind of interested to see what people. I mean, I don't really look at people's comments. Let me be honest with you, but I mean, it was more just the fact that I would say a lot of people commercially, like if you look at it from a commercial point of view, have gotten to know you through your personal development work and Dim, the person that obviously is a life coach, a personal coach and whatnot, right? Very few probably know the photo, the photo on the left hand side, where you've got a gun and you're
in the army clothes,
and whatnot, right? I've known you in those images, right? And mentally, like the person I spoke to and have spoken to since then is the same person, right? But obviously you're in different places in your life. So tell me a little bit about what made you kind of want to post and speak about it, number one, and tell me a little bit about the person, the photo on the left hand side, the army and that period and kind of like what you were going through, and now kind of sitting here where you're at with what you do with your life and the platform that you built for yourself, kind of looking back, looking back and thinking about it, like what comes to your mind.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff there, man. Yeah. So the first question I think was what made me post that photo.
Yeah.
So for the context of people who haven't seen that photo or that post, it was a photo that was taken where in the evening that photo was taken, I was on a firing range doing a night vision shooting exercise. And what the post was about was like I was considering like just fucking shooting myself then and there, right? That was what the photo was about, and it was about how thankful I was to just have faith and to find purpose in life, and that's what led me to Dim and Anna and me now. What made me post that photo, sincerely, the number one reason was like, just in case there's someone on this Facebook feed who is thinking about fucking killing themselves, like I'm posting this thing to give them some hope and to just tell them to just trust and have some faith. That was, if there was no other reason, that's why I posted that photo. And I just wanted to give inspiration to anyone that if they were in a, because as I was saying, life is duality, and as there's ups, so there's downs. And if you don't have the perspective that there is duality, then when you're in the downs, you're going to think that is all there is, and you're fucked. Is basically what you're going to think. I wanted to give them the inspiration and the hope that it's going to be all right. That's why I posted that photo, man. Does that answer like? Yeah. So the follow-up question was.
Well, the follow-up is obviously what that photo means to you, and like kind of obviously going back to that time period, and what kind of, where was your mindset at, know? And then you kind of compare yourself to being where you're at now in comparison to where you were in that photo.
Yeah, man. So
because like the reason okay, to answer why, like to answer the question as to why I asked you, it's like there's so, like, how old are you? So you said you're
31.
31,
yeah,
right?
It's 21 in that photo.
Yeah, right. 21 in that photo, right? But you've lived a good life so far. So there's so many other photos you could have contrasted it with.
Yes.
But it's like really dark to something.
For me, that was like
so
the pits.
It really kind of, as a friend, let alone forget about you just being, Dim the person's development coach or whatnot. As a friend, I thought that was quite interesting that there's two photos, and I know there was quite deep. The meaning behind it is quite deep. So, but that part where you were in the army and that life, I know about that to an extent, obviously, right? Because we've known each other for that long. But I know it's not something that as far as I know, you publicly speak about it. But it's a big chunk in life. I remember, for those who don't know, I remember running into you at Parramatta Westfields, and you were thinking of signing up, or you were signing up, and you were just being recruited. I fucking remember the conversation I had with you. And you were telling me, like, you're just trying to figure out what it is you're trying to do, so you're going to just go join the army. And I remember it. So,
I was 19.
So, man, so tell me a bit about your mind state at that time, and why was it a very unhappy moment?
Got you. Yeah. So that's a great question, and there's a few things I want to say here. So the first one to what you just said was because I didn't have a purpose or direction, and I think for a lot of men in particular, anyone with masculine energy, having a purpose or direction is like one of the most important things. Like almost every man wants like a mission or something. Like. One of the reasons like people get so emotional about the movie Gladiator, like when I say the movie Gladiator, pretty much every guy who's watching this has seen the movie and loves it, right? It's because it's a guy who is like sticking to his mission, and it's like no matter, even if they try to kill him, he's gonna deliver his mission of like killing that king, who's the evil king. In the same way, when you can't really feel a purpose in your life, it's easy for you to feel purposeless. And when you feel purposeless, it's easy for you to feel like, well, what's the point of even being here at all? So one of the things that were going through my head was like, one of them was like, well, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. Like at that time, I had done what you're supposed to do. You know, if you're Sri Lankan, which is basically you go to school and you go to uni and then you go and get a job. And basically, I was in uni, and when all my cousins and all the kids I was getting compared to in high school, they had gone on to become doctors. And for me, I got into aeronautical engineering, which is great, but then I really sucked at it, and I was dropping out, I was failing units, I was dropping out. So it was just a period of my life where I'm like, whoa, shit, all my dreams seem to be coming undone. Like I wanted to be a fighter pilot, like Will Smith in Independence Day, you know, and oh, I can't be a fighter pilot because like I get airsick, right? And like I can't do aeronautical engineering because like it's so hard. It's like rocket science, literally, right? So I'm dropping out or I'm failing, so I'm feeling like shit. So I'm like, well, I'm trying to find some kind of meaning for my life. That's why I was joining the army. Like that was kind of where my head was at. It was like looking for a meaning in life, which funnily enough, the real core of what I do in my retreats, no matter what the marketing says, the sincere core of what I do, man, is I help guys connect at the deepest level to a sense of meaning and purpose for life. Because I feel like if you can connect to that, like you get access to all the energy, all the inspiration, your life like becomes on fire because you're just like, holy shit, I have got this fucking mission to deliver while I'm here on earth, and I'm gonna be dead. Like it's like Tupac, like Tupac was so driven by like we're gonna like liberate like people, like you know, and that's why this guy was so larger than life because he was just like like connected. In the same way, at 19, I was looking for that. You know, I really found it around the age of 25, 26. And that's why like my life's work is helping guys find that too, because I looked for it for that long, and it took me a long time to really connect to it. And that's why I'm so good at helping other guys. But that was one reason. The other major reason, man, I was not in the right environment. You know, you just said, which is so accurate, that you see me as almost the same person then and now. That's because you were one of the few people, which is why we're still good friends to this day, right? Who was able to bring the best out of me. Since I'm getting a bit emotional thinking about this, right? Um, but I think of you, and you know, as you were talking, I think of some other older friends of ours, like Sunny and stuff, and um, there's these really good boys in my life at that time who brought the best out of me. But the overwhelming majority of people that were in my life at the time didn't really. And that's not their fault. When I didn't really know what I want, of course, you're just going to get a random selection of people around you, right? So, like, um, when you're in the wrong environment, man, like, when you're in the right environment, so much can happen so quickly, as you know, right? I think one thing that our community has not really appreciated. Well, I didn't appreciate it until I was like 28, to be honest, which is when I moved and I really got connected with the right people. It really helped me. But you know, connecting with the right environment is so important, and it can be so detrimental when you're in the wrong environment, and you know from your early 20s, right? Of course, and those were the reasons in that initial part. I hope that answers the question.
No, definitely. And I mean, I think the key word you said there was environment as well, man. I think it's funny, you put yourself in the right environment and it's just you're craving knowledge, you're craving growth. There's so many opportunities that's just pulling you in to just grow and learn and do things and excite you when you're in the right environment. And that's the hardest thing. I was telling someone yesterday.
It's one of the hardest things, man.
You just finding the right people around you, and then going back to what you're saying, it's not that those people are bad or whatever. It's that the truth is we all work at different frequencies, man. And if you connect with people that are the right frequency, the same frequency as you, you're gonna,
that's exactly right.
Really good things are gonna happen, So I think it's really important, for people to realize that. I think there's that attachment as well, like especially when you grow up with people. I feel like there's that attachment when you grow up with people. You have that sense of growing up with them, but it means shit when you grow up and you start to, kind of evolve into the person you're trying to be, and that's the key. And I think when you're trying to be the person you're trying to be, that's when reality kind of really hits you.
Yeah, you get tested.
You get really tested. because you're gonna have to make changes. You're gonna have to move a certain way that you've never been used to.
And look, man,
you know,
and think about it, you are loyal as fuck. And loyalty has to be one of the most important values in life, like in my humble opinion, you know. And I feel like there are people you come to realize, and I think people will really recognize this because everyone who's watching your show are people I believe who has like a growth mentality. So they're going to definitely encounter this challenge if they haven't already. You have two types of friends. One type, they're friends with you because in their model of reality and in their model of the world, you fit nicely into that narrative that they have, and you feel a certain purpose. You know, you give great emotions, and you give great advice or something in their model. They're not really. They don't mean to. They're not bad people, but they're not really accepting you as you are. They're liking you as a fit into this thing. But the thing is, as you grow, you may not be the right fit anymore, and that's when that can be an issue.
Yeah, and I think how you deal with that, that's where the friction is, right? Because it could be seen as a negative way, right? And you react emotionally, right? Naturally, because especially if it's friendships.
It's old history.
It's old history and everything.
It's probably one of the most hardest things in life.
But another thing that actually, before we kind of wrap it up, that you raised the other day, which I thought was quite interesting as well, was without trying to be very specific about it, I'll kind of give the idea of it, was when you were speaking about how you used to kind of feel a certain type of way when you felt like people could give information or people could give you tips on how, in ways to be successful or to kind of help you grow, and you're wondering why, given the situation you're in now, you always used to think why they never, and then what you've come to understand is that these people were always telling or speaking or no one listened.
Yeah.
Do you remember that part? Yeah. And
absolutely.
I found that interesting because I feel like there's a piece of my life where I kind of resonate to that. And I'm sure other people do as well from whoever has been engaging with that. That comment that you made. But what kind of made you say that, and kind of give me the basis of the structure for you saying that, and giving that opinion, I guess.
Yeah, sure, man. Like, because tell me if this is what you think I meant. Like, basically, what I had said in that post was like, when I was growing up, I felt like I didn't have many good guides, no role models. In here right now. I felt like I didn't have many good guides, right? And I felt like I wondered, why are these rich people, or these people who suddenly get all this money out of nowhere, why didn't they ever tell me about what they were doing? Like, I would have done it. Like, why didn't you tell me? And now I've realized why they didn't. Is that what?
Yeah. That's what I'm referring to. Yeah.
And yeah, man, like what I realized is that because now you and me are in positions where we've been through some things and we're trying to help other people now, and then what you come to realize pretty quickly is like what J. Cole says, like, she don't want to be saved, don't save her. Like, sometimes, like, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't force him to drink it. You can only, like, what happens is you go out there and you try to help people, but some people are just not spiritually ready, or whatever that is, to receive it. So at that point, what can happen is you can get discouraged because you really give a shit. You really care. That's why you do it. But then people don't want it. So then you can get discouraged.
Which impacts you, right? It impacts what you think is possible, or even just affect your own goals and what you're trying to achieve, because it seems impossible or not of interest to people that you probably respect because they're in your circle or they're your friends, you know what I mean?
Oh, it's
and so I feel like that process, when you finally realize, like, man, I'm either gonna fucking do what I want, or I'm gonna be fucking sitting in this venomous cycle where I'm just gonna eat at myself, right?
Yeah.
And you realize the only thing stopping you is yourself.
100%.
Because if you decide to do what you want to do, the reality is that what seemed normal to you, or what seemed is a norm to your life, is really not. But the people that don't know how to deal with that, right? The sense of, okay, fuck, that's all I know of. These people are all I know, and by me doing this means I'm on this lonely ride on my own. And then you realize that no one's knocking on the door, or no one's ringing the bell, or no one's like, hey, how you feeling? It's hurtful. And you rather sometimes not want to deal with that process and thought and put yourself and insert yourself back into that situation and environment and act like, and I feel like it's also like, it's like park drinking, or even at pubs, I always call this, you're drinking over beers and you're talking and whatnot, right? Sometimes those conversations you have with people are some, like anyone that's ever gone out and got on the piss, D&M's is like your life club, right?
That's what
you pretty much have a fucking D&M with anyone, right?
Yeah.
And you think when you connect with someone, you connect with certain people, right? It makes you think like, fuck, this person, like we kind of have an understanding, right? Based on a conversation or whatever it is. And sometimes you might think, and then when you're trying to do something, whatever it is, right, something you're trying to achieve, whether it's a personal goal or trying to create something, whatever it is, right, and you put it out to the universe, and the universe being these people that are around you, feed it back, and then feed it back in the way that you felt like you were intended to receive it.
Yes.
You can question yourself because you're like, wait, am I too crazy to think like this?
Yes.
Right, because you've had certain moments, and that's why I tell people, like, it means shit sometimes. Just because you've had a D&M or had a good drink or grown up with people for 3-4 years doesn't necessarily mean they know who you really are, what you're capable of achieving. Only you know what you're capable of achieving. But if you want to go on that journey, right,
it's going to be lonely for a minute.
It's going to be lonely, but the people and the environment that you once knew may not be the same, and may not receive it the same way.
It's not going to be.
And some people would rather choose to just accept the false reality of it than the reality is that, doing this means half of this environment and the people around you is gone.
Yeah, that's exactly right. People, Tony Robbins talks about 6 human needs. He goes, we have the need for certainty or a sense of security. We have the need for variety. We have the need for a sense of significance, for love and connection, for growth and for contribution. But the thing is, the people who really excel or whatever, their need for growth will be higher on the list, usually higher than their need for certainty and security. Because if you have a big need for certainty and security, as you said, you're not going to change that environment. You're not going to, like, when you share those new ideas and people don't receive it, you're going to be like, well, the thought of bouncing from this environment is too scary for me because I want certainty so much. So it's game over at that point. And then they resign and I hate, like, to be honest, I'm pretty passionate about this. Like, I know, you know, and I know what's going on behind the scenes with those people who are talking a big game. Behind the scene, they're drinking, they're doing drugs, they're going to brothels, cheating on their wife. They're doing all these bad things behind, and they are suffering, and they're using society's medications, like, to numb the suffering. That's the unfortunate truth about what is happening. But if you're willing to venture out of the certain place for a second, the familiar, and go out of your comfort zone, is what people say, and put that thing out there because you believe in it, and you're like, no, this is real. What you will find is 2 things. One is you're going to find the OGs. The OGs are the people who fucking accepted you for you. They didn't need you to be a certain way to fit into their story. They just accepted you for who you are. So you're an example of that for me, right? That's why you've been a long-term friend, right? You just let me be me, and you were just happy to just hang with me. And that's why no matter where I went and where you went, we just stayed friends because we just wanted to see how each other worked. So you whittle out the OGs from the people who are with you for more superficial reasons. The other thing is you create space for new people to come into your life. I was talking to you before the podcast that, like, I have somehow now got a bunch of close friends who are like multi-millionaires. That's for me unheard of before. I couldn't comprehend that, and now I'm just like every single weekend busting a chill with them. And the universe will support you if you believe in yourself. You know, like the universe wants to. That's what I feel.
Yeah. To kind of end it off, right? I find, bro, that when people take the chance, right? Obviously, there's a lot of sideline commentary especially when they see what you're doing and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Shit, lot of sideline commentary, right?
Nice.
Whatever, it's all good. Like it's life. Like, I feel like there's nothing you can do that's gonna go out to social media, that's gonna go out to the public, and you gotta be there sitting and worrying what the fuck someone's gonna say. Like there's gonna be sideline commentary. Like I know people are talking shit without them having to type it.
Of
You know
course,
what I mean? So it is
course,
what it is, right?
That. Yeah.
But I find with your platform and what you do with your life, right, and what you provide to society and people, once they've taken that chance, they come out thinking, "Fuck, damn, I wish I'm sure you heard.
Did it sooner,
right?
Yeah.
What makes you think that? Because people are, especially once they jump on board or when they come and contact you because they've been looking for it, or people are going through these things, right? You know, whether it's whether it's emotional, physical, mental, life, through their jobs, like all the things that we've spoken about, right?
Yeah.
Why is it that knowing that there are certain platforms or processes or people out there that can help them, and it's proven because they probably know people in their circle.
You've got the testimonials.
You're right, the testimonials,
yeah.
right? What kind of stops them from wanting to take that leap of faith when it's proven? That's what, yeah.
Bro, it's called the pain threshold. The truth is, there's two things that.
Do you like that question? Or?
That was a cheap question. Love you, man. You're always looking out for me, man.
Yeah, go.
Dude, there's two things, man. I feel like you want to answer it. To be honest, no. It's just something we both feel like.
Yeah.
There's two forces that drive people.
Yeah.
There's pain and there's pleasure, right? And typically, people are either moving towards pleasure or you're moving away from pain. The truth is, if you knew that there was $10 million in front of you, you're going to run to it, right? But if you knew that there was a freaking dog that was chasing you that was going to fucking kill you, you'll probably run faster than if you were just running towards the $1 million. Because you're either trying to avoid pain or you're trying to get towards pleasure. And you'll usually do more to get away from pain than you'll get towards pleasure, right? And the thing is, people will have certain issues in their life, drama, whatever, wife dramas, career drama, whatever. They have a certain amount of pain. And you can tell them, dude, life does not have to be that way. Your life could be dope. It could be everything. It could be more money, more problems. Like it could be what you saw in the rap videos. It could be, right? But the thing is, if that pain is not enough to galvanize them, they usually won't come. That's the truth. Usually, and it usually takes a crisis, a big drama to happen where they have a massive meltdown where the marriage is on the rocks, or they have a midlife crisis or something. At that point, they're like, the no amount of drugs, alcohol, all the seductions, TV, all the things that people use to placate the pain here, none of that can stop it. They feel the pain still. At that point, they reach out. That's what happens with a lot of people. I'm thankful to say there have been other people who are just, I think, blessed that in their early 20s or even their 20s or whatever that is, they are just so curious that they're like, you know what, like I don't need that much pain, I'm just down to do it. And that's why Tony Robbins calls it the pain threshold, which is how much pain do you need before you're ready to just look outside the box. That's how I would answer that question.
Yeah. Well explained too, I think, man. That's interesting. But man, I appreciate you coming through, man.
Thanks for having me.
Always try to, level up each one time you come through. But man, keep doing you. I know what you've been through, so I know that everything that you do comes from a genuine place. And regardless of what anyone says or does, I know that it comes from a genuine place, and I know that you're trying to deliver it from a very, very genuine place as well, in terms of the giving. Man, I'm sure obviously we'll catch up again, but for those obviously again that are trying to get in touch with you or may watch this and think they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Just either on my Facebook or on my Instagram. It's Dim Hapa, DIMHAPA. Facebook or Instagram, you can find me.
Hit them up, man. Yeah, thank you for those that are joining in and have watched it. And man, till next time, huh?
Till next time.
Yeah,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, bro.
So good,
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you. Love you.